Hello, 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 hello. This is Pastor Lan again, back for another edition of Light 360. So excited to be back again today. Yesterday was so powerful. We had a very beautiful, inspiring discussion with Lekon, who is a nurse and is doing his doctorate in nursing. We talked about mental health. We talked about the importance of being in groups. Talked about mandates. Just very, very interesting discussion. We talked about music. It was great. So excited again today to bring Light 360 to you. I want to welcome those of you joining us. Thank you for joining us. I can see you guys joining us on the different places where we're streaming. We're streaming on Facebook, two of my pages on Facebook. My official page, please follow my page, Dr. Gregory Lan Ejuwola. And then on my personal friends page also, we're streaming there. Also streaming on Twitter at Pastor Lan, Periscope, and also on my Instagram at Pastor Lan, and on YouTube, my YouTube page, for those who prefer YouTube, Gregory Lan Ejuwola, PhD on YouTube. We're streaming simultaneously to all these places right now. So I want to welcome you all. How are you guys doing? Where are you watching from? Drop in notes in the comments there. Let's see where you are watching from. So the Light 360 is an initiative that we put together to use stories of people that are light in their spheres of influence to inspire other people who so that they too can shine in their spheres of influence or be inspired or be just be helped in one way or the other so that they can also be a light where God has called them. Well, great to see you. That's Pastor Akinyemi from Lagos. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So that's what Light 360 is about. It's just we tell stories. So it's a place where we just lay it all out there and we share about our lives. I've always said it that everybody's life story is inspiring because wherever we have gotten to now in life, it's because of God's grace. It's because of God's grace that that has brought us there. And our failures, our successes, our misses, our hits, all those things, it's not God just walking through everything to bring us to where we are. That's why there's nobody that we have brought on this show that people don't say, wow, that was so encouraging to me and all that, because we all share some commonalities. No matter what sphere of influence we are in, no matter what we're doing, we share certain commonalities. We go through different things, and all the principles are very similar. So that's why these stories have been great. And that's one of the reasons why my best kind of books are biographies. I just love to read the stories of people. And I have learned so many things from reading and listening to other people's stories. And I learn a lot every time I talk with people on Light 360. So I'm looking forward to another powerful time today. So that's what Light 360 is about. This is season 2. Season 2 started in August. We've had so many people come on, just in season 2. We had season 1 just about the time that coronavirus hit. So we're going to be wrapping up season 2 in November, at the end of November, and we'll be back again next year for season 3. So right now, without wasting any more time, I'm going to be bringing on our guest for today. So the person that I'm going to be bringing on today is somebody that is very dear to myself, my wife. I love her. She's a person of excellence. She's somebody who is passionate about being the best that she can be, for God and for people. I've watched her for the years that I've known her, and I've seen her drive, and passion to be the best, spiritually, professionally, in other areas, and especially a desire to raise other people, like to help other people that are coming up behind her. And you're going to be hearing about some of our initiative I've seen her. She's a medical doctor, but I've seen her helping other people in medical school, training them, giving them information so that they can get to where she's gotten to. I've seen her, with our foundation, which we're going to hear about, just help people that are not privileged in several ways or less privileged, to help them, especially with access to medical care. I've seen her travel just for that purpose. I've seen her use her finances, to support causes and all that. So she's actually a light. She's shining as a light in her sphere of influence. And I'm so happy and privileged to have her here. So she's a city light. She's a leading light, also an alumnus of the Leading Lights training, the Leading Lights. She's a part of the Leading Lights network. So I'm glad to have her. I'm glad to have her as a mentee, a friend, just somebody that, when we talk, we just have fun and laugh. And so I'm glad to have her on today. So let's welcome to Light 360 today, Dr. K.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, welcome.
I was like, Pastor Lad, is it just small me you are saying all these things about?
No, they are not small. They are not small. Yeah, so we're all significant in the eyes of God. So, and I meant everything I said.
Thank you so much. It means so much coming from you, and I want to thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your support, and not just from a spiritual aspect, but also from a practical aspect as well. And so I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So proud of you and all the things that God is doing through your life. So I'm excited to hear your story. Sometimes when I interview people like this, I even get to know more about them. I'm like, wow, I didn't know this about you. This is amazing, So I'm looking forward to that. And people are watching from different places, and they're waiting to hear your story. So we're going to get right into it. First of all, how are you doing today? I know doctors are very busy, right? On call and all that.
Yes, and I'm sure everybody has been seeing in the news, we've been having a rise in COVID cases. Yeah. And I just want to let everybody know it is not fabricated. This is something that I am living every day I go to work. It's crazy because now half of the patients that I see in my shift are actually COVID positive, or they turn out to be COVID positive. It's actually worse now here where I am than it was when it started. So it's been an interesting past few weeks at work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just say it out there. We're not making the stories up. This is my daily existence. This is my reality. So I'm going to just encourage everybody. I know pandemic fatigue is real. I know it's difficult to wear masks. I know they cause skin irritation. I know they feel constrictive, but I wanted to just encourage everybody to just keep at it the best you can.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I was going to ask about that. I asked our guest yesterday too. I was like, is this thing real? Like they're talking about, I also talked to a nurse yesterday. Who told me, she said our entire, like where she works right now, that's Pastor Olumide's wife, like just full of COVID patients right here in Illinois. So I'm like, wow, this thing is so real and all that.
The Midwest has been getting really hit in the past few weeks. And it's not just that our cases have gone up, our hospitalizations have gone up. And that's the part that's concerning, because now we're having more hospital beds. Like my hospital right now, we have like the most number of COVID cases ever since it started. Wow. And so please keep us in your prayers as we all go out. Let's just always remain vigilant, wear your mask, physical distance, and sanitize, and pray to God.
Yeah, that prayer is very important. Everything is important, pray, make sure you pray.
Every time I go to work, I'm like, God, please protect me from this. And for those who don't know me, I'm an emergency doctor. Frontline. which means I don't know what comes in the door. And it's not just COVID. People, when Ebola started, God bless, the lady, Dr. Dadebo in Nigeria.
Yeah.
When you are a frontliner, you're supposed to pretty much
everything, like they just bring it in and
yeah.
the first set of people that they meet.
Yes. And so I have to just depend on covering. And I'm like, God, please cover me with your blood. I don't know what I'm going to meet today. And it's not just physical disease. I also know there's a spiritual side to illness, and especially in the emergency room. It's so funny. I was talking to a couple of friends because, of course, we deal a lot with death at work. So it's not just covering from physical illness. You also talk about the spiritual perspective. There's also the emotional side of it. Because you're dealing with people that are sick, you're dealing with people that are vulnerable, you're dealing with people that have lost their loved ones, but you have to keep your own emotions in check, and you have to build that rapport with somebody in 5 minutes and then see the next patient. So even if I had a baby that just died in room 1, I have to go see room 2 and smile like nothing happened. So praying for a covering from an emotional perspective as well. And then even from a physical perspective, there's been in the past couple of years increased violence against healthcare staff. People can get verbally abusive, physically abusive. So I also pray for covering from that.
Wow. A lot of people don't know, what you're saying right now. It's just like as a pastor, right? If I tell people what pastors go through, we go to what I call pastoral abuse.
I hope I've not contributed to your pastoral abuse.
You're good. So we go through pastoral abuse. The pastors can only talk with other pastors about, what they are going through. Sometimes when I sit in a gathering of pastors, and then people are just talking, like the greatest pains of pastors are the people they love the most. All kinds of things and all that. So just listening to you too, I'm like, wow, doctors also feel this way too. And a lot of people don't know.
We're not robots or superhuman. I'm just like the next person. I feel hunger. When I walk 12 hours, I don't eat. I'm hungry. So we grieve with people. We grieve with patients. Just like recently, I had to tell a family member that their family member was dying, and we had to come to peace with that. But I love when I'm able to combine my faith with that, because our hospital has chaplain services, and I offered this family, do you mind, calling a chaplain? And they broke down in tears and they said yes. And so that was nice, just to be able to share that part of my faith. So we're human. We're just like everybody else. We're tired of this pandemic, just like everybody else. We don't want to wear masks, just like everybody else. And so I want to just give a shout out, to everyone, that your doctors are on your side. When we give advice, we're not saying we're better than you, because we're just like you. When we say diet, exercise, we're talking to ourselves as well. It's just that we went to school. We have a little bit more knowledge in certain, skills that we can share. But otherwise, we're all in this together.
Wow, thanks for saying that. As I have a question for you on that. How do you handle, like as the doctors, like what do you do to handle all those stress? You leave the hospital and you go, somebody died, somebody been taken care of, this happened. How do you handle that the mental anguish and all those things that come from your work? What are your lifelines?
The big thing is developing an outlet. And if the outlet is to have somebody that you talk to about it, or your colleagues, or a hobby, or prayer, you have to have something that you can go to. I will confess it's a bad habit, but one of mine is just watching mindless TV and just not thinking about anything else.
Well, I mean, something you have to. I mean, as a pastor too, that's what I do. One of my best place of rest is mindless stuff. My wife just sees me like I'm just like a zombie there. either reading something or just listening, document, just escape out of this world.
Yeah. I think reading is better. Like TV is not beneficial to me. I wish I could do the reading, because then I would feel less guilty. Because after I watch on the TV, I'm like, Mobola, you just wasted your time. But on the real though, a lot of hospitals have what they call EAP programs, so employee assistance programs, where you can call and speak to a counselor. And mental health is big in medicine, and I don't know, you probably have seen the reports. We lose 300 to 400 doctors a year to suicide.
Wow.
An entire medical school class. So in my
we lose pastors too. I mean, I'm sure you've been reading it in the news. A lot of pastors that just commit suicide, and
earlier this year, I forget his name, but it was a popular pastor that was vocal on suicide and mental health, and his last Twitter post was after that.
And he killed himself.
Yeah. That really, Pastor Lan, that really affected me, because I was like, oh my goodness. This guy was fighting this outward battle.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going on internally.
Yeah.
And it really, we don't know what people go through. And so all of us have this beautiful outside barrier. And I would just encourage everyone, check on people that you know, whether or not you think they're strong, whether or not you think they're fine. Especially with this pandemic and isolating.
Yeah.
Like I used to traveling was part of my outlet. That has been cut a lot, if you're just shooting somebody a text, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Just really checking on each other. This 2020, I would say, has been 2020 has been
it's been a unique
year. Has been one for the book.
Yeah. And it's not over yet. So
and I want to encourage a lot of people, especially being in the Christian faith. I don't know that we talk a lot about mental health. We talk a lot about the joy of the Lord. And I don't know that we talk a lot about depression is real.
Yeah.
Anxiety is real, and apart from seeking spiritual help, I don't think we talk a lot about actually seeking professional human help.
Yeah.
People went to school for this. People have the skills to cope with this. And so I want to encourage anybody listening, if you feel like you might benefit from therapy, don't be ashamed.
Yeah.
At all. There's 2020 has been a doozer. So there's nothing to be ashamed about. Yeah. I actually feel, and this is a topic I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage you to just find somebody to talk to, find a professional.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. I don't think we can do this on our own anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is Pastor Lan, and I approve that message. Please seek help. The spiritual is great. It deals with a particular thing, but you need other forms of help, mentally, physically, and all that. So that is highly encouraged, especially if you are going through depression or any of those mental health issues right now. Reach out to someone, talk to someone. Don't stay alone there, and let it just continue to just increase and all that, and not or just stay there not treated. Reach out for help. So there's a lot of help that is available for you. It's been a tough year on all fronts for everyone, even for kids, not having to go to school, being at home, and, just having to interact by looking at a screen, have their friends at a screen and all that. It's been a very, very tough year. So want to encourage everyone, please, to listen to the advice of the doctor. So let's talk about the doctor now. So tell us, we already know what you do a little bit, but tell us about yourself. Who is Mobola? Tell us.
Okay. Yeah. So Mobola is the daughter of Dero and BC Kukoyi. I'm actually the only girl in a family of 5. I have 4 big brothers, and I have 13 nieces and nephews. And it's so funny because my oldest niece is now in college. I cannot believe it because I remember when she was born.
Yeah, make you feel old,
I'm like, no, I like me and her. We're like cool. We're chilling and we're talking about calling. I'm like, oh my goodness, I remember when you were born.
Yeah.
And so so that's been amazing, just watching my nieces and nephews grow. I grew up in Nigeria. I came here for undergrad and college and have been here since then. I went to UAB in Birmingham, Alabama for my undergraduate and graduate degree.
Yeah.
I went to Duke for my medical school. I worked for a little while. So I'm a non-traditional medical student. I did public health. I worked for a CDC grant for a little while before going to medical school. I went to med school at Duke, and then I came to Chicago for residency, which is where I met Pastor Lan and the City Life Group.
Awesome. So was it, I mean, the way you just said it like that, you know, went to Duke, it's like, it's easy. Was it that
the amount of water that have come out of this eyes. The amount of water out of this eyes.
It looks like it looks like our Instagram got paused. 1 second. I just want to make sure that I saw that out. But continue talking while I get the tech person to sort that out. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
So it's so funny when I complain to my friends and be like, "Oh my God, this work is so hard." They're like, "Mobola, do you remember the times you used to cry and pray for what you have now? And now God has given it to you, and now you're all complaining." So it just goes to show our human characteristics. At the end of the day, we're all flawed as human beings. But the key is remembering my journey and remembering my why. Because on the days that, I'm like, I've been through so much, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore. It's why did I get into what I am getting into in the first place? And I've seen that patient experiences, when a life is saved, the family I talked about, when you help transition their loved one, then you see the little wow, you see the humanity. Because in medicine, especially in emergency medicine, because I call it organized chaos, is a million things happening at once.
Yeah.
It's hard to get lost. And so finding those individual interactions, finding my why.
Yeah.
And my why is to help people. And even if it's one person I help a month, going into that and not losing sight of that has been very helpful.
Yeah. So what inspired you to go into medicine? Like, how did it all, was that your dream from when you were young?
Yeah, with Nigerians, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, otherwise you're not.
Not successful.
Yeah. So it's I don't remember like an eureka moment I said, oh my gosh, but I know my dad bought me this book. It's called Every Woman. It's like an OBGYN book. And I just remember reading the book and fascinated by like reproductive anatomy, childbirth, labor. And I just said, oh, I like this. So maybe that was his way of pushing doctor into my head. But I used to read a lot as a child. And so I just kind of grew up knowing that's what I wanted to be.
Okay. All right. So it's been there for a while. Yeah. What about your spiritual journey? How your journey?
So I grew up in a Christian family. We used to go to a Celestial church until I was, I think, 12 or 13. I actually remember that Sunday because I remember what I wore. I remember, exactly what I wore to church that day. We went to a reading church and they talked about giving your life to Christ. I mean, at 13, you kind of know, you have some knowledge.
Yeah.
And so that was like my first real Christian experience. Because I was born into Christianity, but that day I chose.
Yeah.
Christianity.
Your home faith.
And that was in March of, I believe, 1997.
Okay, cool. So, and then since then, how has the journey been? Like, your spiritual growth and.
I would say being a Christian in Nigeria is different than being a Christian in America.
Also.
And it shouldn't be so, because we have one God, it's the same God. There is no angels of Africa and South America different from.
I don't want to get into all that. I don't know what that brought to my mind, but
that was intentional. It's only one God, one sovereign God. But I think when I first got here, it was a lot of focus on surviving and survival. Because in Nigeria, we're fortunate, you live at home. But here in the States, I'm like, goodness, I have to work to go to school. I have to save money. And so sometimes you lose sight of your Christianity. I mean, you still pray, but God is not your focus. You're focused on surviving. And so there was a time in college that I've never lost my Christianity. I've never lost my faith, but it hasn't always gotten the priority that it deserved. And I believe a lot of that was the survival mentality that comes. And I'm sure every immigrant will tell you the struggles of when they try to assimilate into the American culture. Right. By the time you have to go work 2 jobs and then go to school, you're like, God, I have to pray. God, I have to go to church. God, I can't get involved. And so yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think that it gets, for a while, it didn't get the priority in my life that it deserved. But I've never lost. I've always been Christian. Yeah.
Awesome. So did you pass all your exams just like that? Like,
hey, I said the water that have come out of my eyes.
It's the water that I want to hear about a little bit.
If I don't cry again for the rest of my life, I've cried enough for this lifetime.
So tell us what made you cry? Yeah.
So the entrance exam to medical school, for everybody that don't know, is called the MCAT. You may hear like your friends, your colleagues talk about MCAT. I'd always been someone that did well in class. I'd always gotten A's. I've always been top of my class, both Nigerian here, so I wasn't used to failure. That was a new concept to me. But being at that time a non-immigrant, you kind of have to be top of the pack if you're applying for professional school. You can't just get average grades. You have to get excellent grades. Because if you have 1,000 Americans applying for a spot, why would they choose you if you don't have like equal grades? And so my first exam, I failed my MCAT, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I've not failed an exam before. Maybe I got some D's in like biology in undergrad, but I remember that exam I didn't study. Yeah. So, but this is something I studied for. And then I did it the second time and I failed again. And it wasn't a failure, it was just like it was a low grade. Yeah. And I applied to medical school and I didn't get in. And at that time, as a non-immigrant, for those that are familiar with that, you have to either be in school or get a job to be in status. Yeah. So it wasn't just failing the exam 2 times now, not getting into medical school. Now I had to worry about being in status. Yeah. So just all of that, you're running around, and a lot of people joke that a lot of Africans have many degrees, but the truth is a lot of us have many degrees because we had to study. Yeah. A lot of those degrees are expensive. You run out in school for free. And that was part of why I got my master's. So I didn't get my master's because, hey, I want to get a master's. I got a master's because I had to.
Was that in public health? Or?
That was in public health. But little did I know that was just perfect for me, and that's what my career needed, because that master's opened so many doors.
Look at that. I think there's a lesson, to learn from this. You faced disappointment, right? And you had to go in a particular direction. But eventually, after many years, you can now see that, it all seems as part of the plan, because it opened doors for you.
Opened so many doors. And it actually made me a more competitive applicant for medical school eventually. I worked on a CDC initiative. I traveled a lot. I gave a lot of presentations. That opened a lot of doors to like my research career. I met a lot of people that are still in my life today. And even now as a doctor, it gives me like an extra oomph over like other people, especially like with this COVID thing. I can say I have public health training. I train in epidemiology. So I think, but at that time, all I did was cry, right? Yeah. I wasn't thinking about God being sovereign. So I saw that Mr. Wong said that. I was just thinking of, what am I going to do? I'm in trouble. I'm going to be out of status. Yeah. Thank God I got my master's. And then See, getting my master's now, where's job?
Before we go ahead, I want you to use what you just talked about to preach a message to somebody who is watching, because I actually have people talking to me that are going through what you went through, what you went through at that time, where they are like their status is about to be out, or they just failed. I don't like to use the word fail because you only fail when you stop. Failure is when you stop trying. When you try something and you don't succeed at it, that is not called failure. That just means that you learned a way of not getting it done. I always talk about Thomas Edison, who for I think 1,000 tries of different filaments failed until he found the right one in his hand that became the light bulb. So failure is when you stop. So failure is never final. Success is never ending. You just have to keep moving on. The only people that fail, those of you watching me, the only people that failed are those who quit trying. So don't call yourself a failure because something you did not succeed. No, you are still on the journey, right? So I wanted you to preach a message to somebody who is watching because you've been there. What should they do? How can you encourage them now? Go ahead.
So what I would say is acknowledge what you're feeling. Know that you're not alone. Whatever you have to do, usually in this case, it's trying to stay in status by some reason. Whatever you have to do, talk to somebody. We can always find help.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because dealing with this in isolation is so dangerous. Because one thing I want people to try to avoid is dealing with isolation until 1 week before school is about to start. And then you're like, God, I have to pay tuition. So I know I can be a very private person. I don't like people in my business. But I was lucky that I had family I could talk to. But a lot of us don't have family members. So I would encourage you to acknowledge what you're feeling, realize you're not alone, and that there is always a way.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, there's always a way. I've had people that didn't give non-American scholarships, like they literally, and this is actually somebody we know and should be happy to share that story. But the school said they didn't give scholarships to non-Americans. I wouldn't have applied, but this person persisted and applied. And they got one. So nothing is impossible. But if people don't know your situation, we can help.
Yeah.
And I just want you to be encouraged. There will always be a way.
Yeah.
There will always be a way. There will always be a way. I've had people do, and it doesn't have to be a 4-year program. You can do a certificate course. There are certificate courses that would sponsor non-immigrants. So if you don't talk to people, you don't have that knowledge.
Yeah.
So acknowledge your feelings, realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
Seek help.
Yeah. And there are many sports, especially in your medical field, there are many sports where you get to that point. The story of somebody again came to my mind, that my wife and I used to pray with, where the place where she got to that point was being matched for residency. I mean, like every year, this person almost gave up and we will pray, don't worry and all that. And she just finished her residency late last year. The joy, I was just so happy because I told her never quit and she refused to quit. She kept on until she eventually got matched, but it was a tough time for her. So I guess this should encourage those who are watching. Don't quit. Whichever field, whatever you're going through right now, it looks as if there's no way. I want to tell you, there's always a way. There's always a way. Ask and you shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. For he who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, the door shall be open. In the Greek, all those verbs in those places that I just read, they are not just verbs of doing it once. The word, the verb used there, they are verbs of continuing to do. So he who is to keep on asking and you will receive. Keep on seeking, you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. So you just keep on. The key word there is to keep on. Don't quit. Never quit in life. Just keep moving on. There's a breakthrough that is coming your way. Yeah. So
something that I actually want to write down. You said success, failure is something with failure.
Failure is never final. Success is never ending.
Failure is never final. Success is never ending. That's the word right there, guys. That's the word.
Because right now, people look at you, they will say you are successful. Dr. K is successful. People look at me and say, oh, Pastor Lan, you are successful. But success is never ending. I can't stay here. There's always something more. There's always something more. There's always something more. And people think that failure is final. Oh, you have gone through this one. Oh, that's it for you. No, failure is never final. Success is never ending. All of it, just keep moving. Success is succeeding in successions. So just keep going, just keep going. And you eat something and it looks as if you are a failure. Don't quit. Fail forward. Don't fail backwards.
Wow.
Yeah, fail forward.
I'm writing all these things down. This will work. Fail forward.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So you got to the job. Yeah. So you were talking about, so after you finished that, you're about to get a job and then you have
So you're like, how will I get this job again? You worry with. But it's so funny. My job, I never got there in person. It was just a phone interview and they offered the position to me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had to decide.
Continue talking. You're gonna see. I'm gonna show you. Alone. But talking. I'll be back in a moment. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. At that time, I had to decide whether or not I wanted to continue medicine. But that meant that apart from studying a full-time job, I had to restudy for this exam that I'd already taken 2 times. And then I had to reapply to medical school. And so that was a bit challenging because I'm moving to a new city. I don't know anybody. I'm about to start this job. But I thank God things worked out. My boss was very supportive when I told her my plans. I was able to take my exam and finally got into medical school. But even then, I remember my very first medical school admission letter. I cried. And it wasn't like cries of joy. It was actually tears because I knew I couldn't afford to go to medical school. Because now that I actually finally achieved my goals, we had to talk about finances. Again, because being immigrant, you just don't have, those many opportunities open for you. And so instead of that being a happy moment for me, I was actually down that now that I finally got into my dream, I can actually afford it. But I thank God because my getting into Duke is nothing short of a miracle. It's not something I've talked about publicly a lot, but the circumstances that surrounded me getting into Duke were nothing short of miraculous. And Duke was perfect because they provided scholarships and grants and aids that I could apply for. And I will forever be grateful to them because without Duke, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Awesome.
So that's my spiel. I don't think I'm ready to say exactly how that happened yet, but it was nothing short of miraculous.
Yeah, praise God, thank God. God was guiding your path towards something. So let's fast forward to Chicago, and then you come to City Light, and then Leading Light, and all that. So tell me about that. How was that for you? How did you even get to City Light?
So my friend Uche,
Uche, yes.
Yeah. So you remember that my master's job, when I moved, that's where I met Uche. I met Uche when she was just a medical student.
Okay, wow.
For a very long time. And so because I knew she was in Chicago, I was like, hey, what church do you go to? And she told me I was City Light. And I lived in Hyde Park. City Light was in Hyde Park. It was just so easy to get to. Yeah.
Okay. So coming to City Light, how was it for you?
I wasn't as involved as I would have liked. I've always been somebody that has been very involved in church. But once I started medical school, in residency, you're really not in control of your time. So if there was one thing that I would take back that I could redo again, it would be to try to get more involved in service because that's something I've missed. And that's something being in medicine, being a trainee really doesn't give you flexibility in your schedule. Even the leading light, it wasn't until my last month in Chicago that I was able to take the class.
Yeah.
I took the class June of that year. That was so funny. And I was living in July. Or was it May or June? Something like that.
Yeah. So how was the leading light experience for you?
The leading lights experience for me, and this is what I say to people, I like the practicality. Spiritual is number one, but we live in a physical world. And I love that the leading lights combine biblical principles with business principles. And when you look at them, they're actually not that different, because, God leads a business, God leads us. There's order, there's organization, there's so many things you can learn. So I love the practicality. I love that I could take the principles I learned and apply it in my everyday life.
Yeah.
And so that was very important to me, because I think that leading lights teaches you tangible skills you can use to make a difference.
Yeah. And how did it help you with, like the clarification of your purpose, what you are, supposed to do, and all that, since it's a major deliverable of the program?
So prior to then, I had been working on my foundation. The goal of my foundation is to help increase or improve healthcare outcomes in resource limited settings. And then because of the whole financial thing for international students, I wanted to be able to give towards that as well. But then with City Light training, I was able to really think about steps to do that. It's one thing to have ideas. I had been taking baby steps, but I needed to do more formal. We talked about organizations, incorporating like LLC, things like that. And Pastor and I have talked about this, a lot of like practical issues with nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
You talk about building relationships. You talk about fundraising. You talk about having clear goals. I made my vision board. I know I didn't submit mine on time, but I got it done.
Yeah.
And so I think just able to delineate clear goals was very helpful.
Very
good. Like training equips you to do that.
And we put what you are doing in your name. Remember, as an acronym. I don't remember exactly, but I know the M must have been medical or something.
It worked. I don't remember. I have it. I actually have it on my table here. But whatever we did worked.
Yeah. So let's push forward from there. So you came to City Light, and then you did the leading light just before you moved, like to where you are right now, where you're working and all that. So tell me about that foundation and what began to happen after then, how you are now using that, like what you've discovered about your purpose to be a light in your sphere.
I would say it's really been humbling to be a vessel. And it was Dr. Bolani. She's actually a City Light member as well. She's a doctor. She's a big supporter of my foundation. And when I would talk to her about my hesitation, I'm shy, I don't want to talk about it, don't ask me for money, she would say, Mobola, this is not about you. This is a vision God has given you. And so I always have that in mind. It's not about me. And if I remember that I am not at the center of this, it may be something that God gave me, but this is really Him. And so I'm happy to say that we are actually making a difference. And so the year after City Light, we're able to
leading light. You mean after the leading light?
Yeah, after leading light. Sorry, we're able to raise and purchase a portable ultrasound for the only emergency medicine residency in West Africa.
Wow!
And that's a big thing because diagnostics is a big thing. You have to pay before service. You have to pay before lab, pay before anything. And it's easy to diagnose people at the bedside with an ultrasound machine. And so we're able to, and that's something that it's life-changing because you can make a difference in an individual and population level. This year with COVID, we were able to raise over $2,500 and partner with 4 organizations in Nigeria. It reached almost 400 families with food packs, face masks, hand sanitizers.
Yeah.
And so really just building that network, building that collaboration has really been very humbling.
Yeah.
Of course, there are challenges, right? Because I want this to be above me. I don't want to run the day-to-day operations, but I know that's a long-term goal. But I want this to be something that is self-sufficient. I want this to be something, that actually I can hire people, pay staff, so those are my long-term goals. And so for my mouth to God's ears, by the special grace of God, long-term, that's where I see this going.
And so shall it be. There was a time we're in Accra, like we jammed in Accra.
Yes.
What was going on there then?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we couldn't meet.
Yeah.
I think it was the time that I did the ultrasound initiative. And so what was it in residency? I forget which one it was. It may have been the ultrasound initiative. Okay. And so Kumasi is where the residency program is. And so even though I spent a few days in Accra, my majority of the time was spent in Kumasi, where we interact with the residents, we teach, we observe, we partake in the care. So that's what I was doing in Ghana at that time. And I try to do, of course, I want everybody to be healthy, but my main focus is for resource limited settings, because I have to remember where I came from and try to build infrastructure back home.
Yeah, very good. So COVID started. You started some initiatives online. I've been seeing you talking and doing all that. Tell us about that.
It was more, how did it start? I remember I came home from a shift and I was just like exhausted, and I got on Instagram Live. I just started really using Instagram this year. I think I was just playing around with the settings and I started talking. I just started talking out, guys, man, I'm tired. This is what I'm seeing. Stay home, call people, giving hotlines. I didn't know people listen to that stuff. I got so many messages saying, well, I thank you for that. I was like, huh? I was like, oh, okay. And I want to encourage people, even though you don't see, like, if you post something and you don't see like likes, don't get discouraged, because I got so many messages behind the scenes, and it made me appreciative that people want knowledge, because there's so much misinformation online, on social media, and they want somebody that they trust. And so I was like, okay, this is cool. And so I try to like disseminate some knowledge about trends, what's going on. On my Facebook page, I posted the big thing now is the Pfizer vaccine. There's an article that I found that broke it down perfectly. It talked about the limitations. And so if anybody's interested in that, it's on my Facebook page, because I think we really should be aware. It's one thing for us to get something from the news, but really being able to interpret that, I felt was very important. And as an ER doctor, I'm passionate about emergency care. And so I want people to know basic skills on how to save a life. So eventually my long-term goal is to produce short 2-3 minute medical videos with easy life-saving techniques.
And that's really needed. We need doctors like that can put all those things in succinct ways that we can pick it up and all that. That can do it in interesting ways. And I think there's a niche in there that is waiting for you. But you've been doing an excellent job with the ones you've been doing. And I know you've been doing some stuff with other doctors too. I remember after Leading Light, you started a group, City Med, and also, you've been doing some things, training those who are doing their exams. Tell us about that too.
And I try to get like other people's experiences, especially coming here as a non-immigrant, because it's a unique experience and it's unique challenges. And so we do like live trainings and talk about, how to make yourself a competitive applicant, financial considerations, things to look for when you're applying, how to overcome obstacles and challenges, because that's how you learn from other people. And so I've been incorporating some of that into my social media world.
And the group that you started, with someone.
So the Leading Lights group we're a coalition of healthcare practitioners. So you have doctors, nurses, other healthcare professionals on there. And it started as a way to encourage each other. And so we kind of share challenges. We used to have prayer sessions, which we stopped. We told it to
You guys were too busy. You were too busy saving lives.
we probably should start praying again.
Yes.
But
More prayers now,
we need more prayers now.
If you guys had not stopped praying, maybe Corona would not have come,
Yeah, see, we start praying Corona KBC.
So you guys need to get together and start praying, and so awesome. So basically, I want you to speak to somebody who is watching. So medical route is what God is using right now for you to be a light, to touch other people's lives. I just want you to speak to someone who is watching. They might not be medical doctors, but they have a profession. How do you translate your profession into legacy, into impact? How do you do that? You have done it and you are doing it. You are not there yet, but you are on it, right? How do you make your work a cause rather than a job? Yeah.
I would say just do it, right? There was an initial hesitation on my part because I remember actually talking to Pastor Lan about this during Leading Lights training because I was like, oh, medicine is what I get paid for. It can't be my life calling. And Pastor Lan actually said, why can't it be both?
Yeah.
That the fact that you have a job in something doesn't mean that you can use that for your legacy.
Yeah.
And so that's how I was like, wow, it's actually an advantage because I can leverage my medical knowledge into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I would say just do it. And so I'm going to echo what he said to me. The fact that you're getting paid for something as your job doesn't mean that you can make a difference in it. Doesn't mean that you can start your own foundation in it because it only gives you an advantage because now you have those added skills.
Yeah.
And I saw something on Twitter today and it said, done is better than perfection. So when you wait for things, because you don't have enough money yet, the stage isn't perfect yet, but done is better than perfection.
I need to write that down. Just that. That's what I believe. A book done is better than a perfect book. A meeting done is better than a perfect meeting. In trying to be perfect, you find out that you experience what is called analysis paralysis. They're just there, not doing anything. And I tell people, you know what? Perfection is something that you keep on striving towards. You keep on improving. If you keep on moving, it will get better. The law of use, which teaches in Leading Light, use the talent that you have, more talent will come. Done is better than perfection. That's my saying for today. Yes. So continue talking to that person, how they can, they can make a legacy out of. Yeah.
And apart from just doing it, be persistent in doing it. You're going to receive a lot of no's. What did our vice president-elect say? She said that she eats no for breakfast. She did an IG interview. That's Vice President-elect Harris. And I was like, wow, this is somebody breaking barriers and breaking ceilings. How many times was she told no in her life? And so be persistent, be intentional. If you're going to have a seminar, if you're going to attend courses, make sure it's something that is beneficial to you. Make sure something that has actionable steps. I believe in professional development courses, totally Leading Lights. And even through different organizations, like your job probably has professional seminars as well. We have to keep growing. You can't be stagnant. So you've been out of school for 10 years. You have to continue your knowledge. So improving yourself. But at the end of the day, I think it's just that persistent spirit. And it's not easy because even now there are personal goals of mine right now that I'm trying to achieve. And it's not easy when you think you've got into another level, you're having to fight to get to that next level. So I just want to encourage everybody. I started by saying that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Nothing is impossible. If God can do it for me, He can do it for you. There's always a way.
Yeah, very good, very good. Thanks for sharing for sharing that. So big picture now, how do you see yourself? Let's say, what's Dr. K in 20 years, 25 years? What are we saying? Like, cast the vision before us.
Relaxing on a private beach.
That's fine. That's okay. That's good.
Private beach. Leave me this American wahala. Leave me this American wahala.
Living in the Caribbean, so somewhere.
But what do I see myself? I want to be a force in medicine and public health, and it may not mean me holding office, but I want to be part of a movement. I don't know that I've identified what that is yet. But I want to be part of a movement. I want to be part of things that have lasting change. A lot of that is going to be getting involved in education and training. I'm trying to do some training with some colleagues for our African brothers and sisters. But I want to be part of a movement. I want to be part of something that is sustainable for generations. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay. Well, still in the direction of this impact and lifting people up, like getting them to either medically or, whatever they need resources, just helping lift them up. That's what you see yourself doing. Do you see yourself on TV, on radio, or what in those days, on hologram?
I have a keen interest in media and entertainment. I've written some news articles for some media outlets. And so you guys watch out for me on your next TV segment or your next TV show. Definitely watch out for me, from my mouth to God's ears.
Okay, so if somebody is watching, those who are watching right now, let's say it's a pastor or a group and all that, and they're like, wow, I like Dr. K's story and I like what she does. She speaks, she writes, and then she does it. She has a foundation, she travels, she's doing all those, and she's a doctor. How can they use your services?
Oh, thank you for that, Pastor Lan. And so I do a lot of healthcare initiatives because of my background in public health. I can help plan different healthcare programming. With this COVID timing, we need a lot of education. And so I do a lot of medical dissemination. I also teach some medical students on the side. I'm really also happy to I speak to like high school teenagers and to share my story. In the past, I've actually also done programs to introduce these high school students to medicine. And working now with some colleagues on developing a virtual program where they can have virtual exposure to medicine. Also working with some groups in Nigeria, in emergency medicine in particular. And so I do a lot of medical education, encouraging people and really telling them that if I can do it, you can do it as well.
So if I was going to invite you for a seminar, what would be the topic that you would speak? Basically, I'm asking you that question so that people can really get your brand. Like in one word or two words, like what is your message?
My message, I have a couple things. I will get to eventually what my message is. Or what I've been living my life by in the past several years is that I have learned rejection is not denial, it's just delay. And over and over and over and over again in my life, that has played out. And so I will call maybe the power of no, because I had no so many times and that kept pushing me and I kept knocking and I kept knocking and I kept knocking. And so I want to encourage everybody else. It doesn't matter if it's medicine, finance, even if you want to open your own bakery, don't stop knocking. Don't stop knocking. Rejection is not denial, it's just delay.
Very good. So you want to get people to go with their dreams. Like don't quit and just keep going. Don't let rejection, let all those things stop you.
I want to encourage people to stay persistent, to stay on course. I don't think it's practical to tell people not to be discouraged. I want people to own their feelings because this is life and reality. But you can own your feelings, but don't wallow in them. Own your feelings, get strength from them, and use that to move forward.
Wow, so powerful. You are so good. Like when you talk, I watched those your shows. You're a very good communicator.
All right, thank you.
Very well. You communicate very intelligently, passionately. I just love it. And what all those phrases and statements that you are making, they are very powerful statement that will stick in people's mind. Done is perfection. The power of no. Those kind of stuff. Yeah. So
I learned from the best, Pastor Lan.
Well, thank you. So, but I mean that's really powerful, and I believe that there's a place for you there. People need encouragement. People need inspiration. People need role models. People that they can look up to, and people that can speak to them. So that they can be the best that they can be. And I believe you are one of those people that God wants to use to do that. So don't give up. Just keep going at it. Keep going at it. Now, tell me very quickly, looking at your life so far, you see you have a long life ahead of you and a lot of accomplishments still coming, but you're a pretty accomplished person and God has helped you thus far and all the glory goes to God. But what are some lessons you have learned, like, some principles, 5 principles, like that you want to share with people that you think they should adopt in their lives?
The first thing is the power of community. And in Leading Lights, you taught us a lot about building relationships. And you can't just build relationships when you need something. You build relationships because we're as humans, we're made to be community. I had mentioned how I like to keep a lot of things to myself. But when I was going through this stuff, I had to reach out for help. So you have to learn to be comfortable with being out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So 1, the power of community. 2, I've made a lot of cold calls in my life. And so my Duke story, when I'm more comfortable, I will share the details, the fun details. Oh goodness, I was calling and emailing and calling and emailing. Wow. And it seems that calling and emailing is my life story, because even when I go to medical school, I got a fellowship through Yale to go to Ghana for a year.
Wow.
I was calling and emailing and calling. And even now in my career, I'm calling and emailing. So go ahead and call and email and knock on doors, Google online. Don't think you're bothering people. Listen, people don't care. People have their own things going on. But you got to put yourself in people's faces. You don't want to be a pain about it. You want to be respectful and professional about it. Yeah. But you want to be proactive. Call, email. If you're on a wait list, send an email. I'm still interested. You have to be intentional and proactive about this thing. So number 2 is the being proactive.
Yeah.
That has really just been my theme. The third thing is building your reputation. And so in things that I try to do, I try, and I think you talked about this, about setting a standard for excellence. Because you want people to associate you and your brand with excellence. I think it's about just not doing shoddy work.
Yeah.
But with me, I started noticing that I was overcommitting as well. And so learning to say no to some projects. Yeah. Because I want to focus on quality and excellence. Yeah. Number 4 is something that I think I already said, but I'm so passionate about, is going back to rejection. About rejection not being denial. So it's okay to own your feelings. Nobody wants to be rejected, but don't wallow in it. Use that as a propelling force.
Yeah.
Something great. I'm trying to think of number 5. I don't know that I know your number 5 right now.
Learn. Let me give it to you. Learn.
Okay, give me number 5, Pastor Lan.
Learn as much as you can learn. Go for knowledge. Learn from the best. Go, read, talk. Search. Yeah, I think that I've noticed about you. Be generous. I've noticed that about you. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Awesome. So look at the way you are smiling. Such a very beautiful smile. My next question to you is, are you married?
You see, Pastor Lan, I knew Pastor Lan would bring this up, okay? You guys, Pastor Lan, I just knew he would bring this up. No, Pastor Lan, I am not married.
So how come? Why? I mean, nice smile, everything, doctor. I mean, like
see me. I tell people to ask God. All-knowing God. So when people ask me that question, I feel like, you gotta ask God. He's my father, right? And
what's happening to those guys? Are they their eyes are what's happening to them?
Ask them and ask God. It's between them and God. Me, I'm out of the picture now.
So I'm going to use this to speak to the people that are watching and anybody that's going to watch this thing later. So here is Dr. K, and the Lord is speaking to you.
I can't believe
the Lord is speaking to you. So, she just told you guys, go for it, call, email, knock on doors, just do you know that's actually, let's talk about that. I might be, looks like I'm joking, but I'm serious. Persistence is necessary even when it comes to relationships. Persistent, not quitting. Just like any other thing that you will do or accomplish, when it comes to relationship too, you set your standard, right? You set your standard. And I tell people, make sure the standard that you set is very spiritual. Like what I mean spiritual, not like just spiritual stuff. I mean, don't let your standard just be all fluffy, exterior, external stuff. Like, oh, it's as tall as the ceiling, it's as dark as charcoal.
So dark and handsome.
Yeah. So not necessarily. You can have that, but I'm talking about, character, vision, all those kind of stuff. Set the standard. Also set, scriptural standard. And I'm not going to settle for less than what God has for me, right? Then you persist. Prayer is very important. People say, I pray. Don't worry, pray, because that's part of your knocking. That's part of your seeking. Bring this before God and say, this is what I desire. Now, Lord, I'm submitted to your will, but Lord, I'm asking you today, for this man or for this woman, depending on, your gender, this, Lord, I'm asking you for this. You've called upon, you've given me a lot. You've given me assignments. You give me all that. Lord, I'm calling upon you for my partner that will work with me in the fulfillment of this. You pray, and then you put that thing that you have written, you put it somewhere by your bedside or your mirror or wherever you can say, excuse me, and every day, look at it and say, God, I remember, put the date, the time that you asked, that you prayed that prayer, put it there and say, Lord, I remember on that day, I brought this to you. I know you answered my prayer that day. Even though you've not seen anybody and all that, every day saying, I know you've answered my prayers. What's going to happen is that definiteness and the consistency is going to begin to create some things in your life. You're going to begin to find yourself, because your spirit is actually receiving it. You find yourself meeting certain people, going to certain places. Somebody might just call you and say, hey, let's go to so and so place. Or it might be a walk thing, or it might be somebody that just walked in. It might just be at church. It might be, things will start happening all around you. And then that's how you get to meet the person. Then even after you meet the person, the whole thing might not fall in place at the very beginning. That's where the persistence also continues. Sometimes you have to pray for God to open the eyes of someone. You're not going to force anything on them, but you have to pray. If you're a guy, that's the time for you. If you feel it's time to talk to the person, send an email, not calling messages. Be real.
Yeah, be real and be straight.
Yeah,
Our Christian brothers, they like to do like this. They like to
don't do any. Be real. You do that. Make it known, and then be persistent. Send some flowers if you want to. Send some whatever. Flowers open.
Is everybody listening to Pastor Lan?
I heard about a guy. I read about this guy. This guy proposed to this lady, and the lady was like, "No way!" And this guy, every single day for 1 year, was sending either a note or sending flowers or whatever. By the end of that year, I mean, the lady, they got married. I mean, yeah. because consistency is important. I mean, when you are consistent, it shows that you have your eye on that person. That's what you truly want. That's what you are going after. And I have a Bible for it, so that people don't just think I'm quoting. They said Jacob saw Rachel and fell in love with Rachel, and then decided to work for the father. The father worked for 7 years, and the 7 years seemed like just a few, like a short time, because of his love for Rachel. Even after then, they cheated him, they gave him else, he still worked again, because
that's true love.
Yeah, that's true love. So we got to work for what we want. We got to be, we got to be persistent. We got to go for it. So I want to talk to you too, Mobola. I know we talk and all that. I want to talk to you publicly. I talk to all the other people that are watching. If you want something, say you want it. Don't equivocate. Don't go around it and say, oh, when they talk about guy or whatever, it's, no, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just so focused on my career. I'm trusting God. I've asked God, I'm trusting God for a man that is dedicated to him, purpose and all that that he has ordained that I can work with. Yeah, when it is here right now, I'm ready for it. So don't tell your spirit you don't want. Don't confuse your spirit, right? Let your spirit know that's what you want so that it can work it out for you. And then don't make sure that when you see the person, because sometimes the person will not come as packaged. I mean, will not come like you find the diamond in the rough. I know, especially you accomplished women. You're tired. You don't want to work. I don't want to work on anything. Okay,
this one is up for public discussion.
Like, I don't want to work on anybody. I just want a ready-made man.
I'm tired, please God. I'm tired. You guys have heard my story. You see how tired I am. I've lived a very tiring life. I'm very tired.
But don't worry. God knows how to do it. There'll be some work that the person will do on you. There'll be some work that you will also do. But God has a package for you. So, but anyway, in case that person is watching, reach out to me at Pastor Lan on all the platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and all that.
Guys, Pastor Lan is about to start his matchmaking show.
Yes.
Instead of the 90-day fiance, it would be the Pastor Lan fiance.
Well, the fact is that I have permission from Mobola. She has told me herself that, Pastor Lan, I give you permission. So people are ready to see. It's got a handsome guy.
Wow, this is funnier than reality TV. This is reality TV in
Taiwo, reach out,
This is the real singles of Leading Lights, okay?
Yes.
Tune in every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Central Time. Tuesday to Friday. Come, So, well, so seriously, I'm serious. God works. That's the way He works. If you heard that story, and you're a serious person, you're working in purpose. Come on, reach out to her at Dr. K. We're gonna put your Instagram.
Oh,
serious, yeah. And
we have to add matchmaker to your list of
it's not like but that's it. It's been fun, chatting with you, Mobola. We always have fun when we talk, So I'm so glad that you came on. I mean, thank you for sharing your story. Very inspiring. And the story is just beginning. There's much more ahead that God has in store for you. And for those of you watching, thank you for joining us. I hope you guys have been blessed by her. Please, if you guys don't mind, just appreciate her for coming on and sharing her story. A lot of people are not bold enough. They'll be like, that's too public and all that. But, all these people that come on this show, they come in because they want to be a blessing. So let's, just appreciate her for sharing her story, for coming on. Yeah. So thank you so much. So, we will be rounding up, for today. Please keep on appreciating. I'll show it when, those comments comes. Yeah. But we're going to be rounding up for today. I'll be back tomorrow again with somebody else again. They'll come and share their stories. It's been powerful sharing from, just bringing all these people to share from their experience. I'm learning a lot. from listening to them, and I'm getting inspired, and I believe that you guys are also getting inspired. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. So you guys keep putting it there. The videos will be there, but we have to sign off right now.
Thank you, everybody. It was so nice to be on here with you, Pastor Lan. Always a pleasure to learn from you.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll do more. I'll bring you on when your book comes out. Yes. yes. And I'm looking forward to the wedding too. So wherever we're doing it, I'm going to be there. So all right.
Bye, Pastor Lan.
You are so courageous. I like that. Yeah, she is. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow. You can stay mobile. I'm just going to go off. So see you guys. Bye.